Everybody ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sheriff asked you to come in. Detective Hall, come on back, or please. Okay. Morning, folks. Sorry about the delay in getting in this morning. Sometimes it's like a mystery. You don't know how it all gets backed up, like you feel like you're on I-40 or something, and you keep waiting to find the automobile accident that never happened, and you can't figure it out. But anyway, thanks for being here, and we certainly appreciate your service. Record should show that all the jurors are present. We continued to hear the testimony of Detective Hall, and had you finished it or up?
I had not.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Can I approach witness?
Sure.
Sergeant Hall, I hand you has been marked and identified as State's Exhibit A445. I believe this was entered into evidence yesterday when we stopped, but is this that black shower curtain that you found in the trash?
Yes, it is.
And you had information that there was also a black shower curtain in that hall bathroom that was missing?
That's correct.
Okay, and if you could pull out in addition to the shower curtain, are there some other objects in that bag?
Yes, sir.
I think if you could show the shower curtain. In addition to the shower curtain, is there also what appears to be a shower liner inside that bag?
Yes, sir.
If you could take that out. Additionally, there's another item in the bag.
Yes. Here's
That is a plastic bag.
plastic, maybe a grocery store bag.
And this is all found in the same trash bag.
That's correct.
Okay. And what else?
So a white washcloth or dishcloth.
Sure.
Sergeant, I hand you has been marked as State's Exhibit A440. Is that an item that you found in the trash as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I say State's Exhibit A441. Is this also items that came out of the trash?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I move to enter State's Exhibit A440 and A441.
There's
A440. does that appear to be?
Appears to be a, a Red Max outdoor bleach cleaner.
What size of bottle is that?
1.41 gallons.
I guess if you turn it this way, does it say it makes up to 30 gallons?
Yes, it does.
I guess you can dilute it.
Correct.
On the side here, it has, I guess, a high strength, a medium strength for how much you dilute it.
Different dilution recommendations. Yes, sir.
This is found in the trash, again, close to those flyers and close to the vacuum cleaner.
That's correct.
Okay. Open up Stacy's at 441.
Appears to be at least one box, track phone, cellular phone box.
Did you ever find a phone that looks like that's pictured on the front of that box?
No, we did not.
And on the packaging of that, does that tell you what phone number that phone is assigned?
There are some specific code numbers, but no, it does not indicate a cell phone number.
Does that appear to be more packaging?
Appears to be maybe a second box with some additional loose pieces.
If you could, I guess, could you put down that material? This bottom piece of the box, does that appear to be the same as the cover of this box?
It does.
So there's two of them.
Correct. Instruction manual. Appears to be a phone charger in a plastic or leather case. Perhaps earbuds and an additional case.
There also appear to be some other trash in here as well.
Yes, some sort of document.
Okay, and could you read as much as you can off that document?
Indicates some sort of alarm testing.
And does it indicate does it have a word at the bottom of that?
Woodfield Glen Management. There's also a date of July 13th, I believe.
Sure.
Sergeant, I hand you has been marked as State's Exhibit A443 and A444. With respect to A443, what are you seeing inside there?
Perhaps a pair of pants and some sort of article of clothing, maybe a shirt.
And State's Exhibit A444, is that another brush head?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to enter State's Exhibit A443 and A444.
No move suit.
And these are, again, both items that you found on July 29th when you were searching my garbage.
That's correct.
And if you could pull out State's Exhibit A443. Can you tell if those are men's or women's pants?
Appear to be women's pants, size 3.
Okay, and I guess in the inside of the top are there flowers?
Yes, sir.
That does appear to be a man's shirt. What does it say?
It's a size medium. Some sort of performance athletic shirt. That's it.
Stacy did A444. Could you fill out that brush head?
Appears to have the name of Quickie on the top part of the brush.
You may.
I hand you Stacy's A442. Are those more materials that you found inside the trash?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and are those some goggles and there are other various objects?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I move to enter Stacy's Exhibit A442.
Vote received.
Does that appear to be packaging?
This particular packaging appears to be Hillshire Farm deli meat packaging. And this particular packaging here is for a 3M chemical splash impact goggle.
Can you tell if these are the same at the top? Does it appear to say 3M?
Yes, it does. I think that's it.
Sergeant, as part of your investigation, you mentioned yesterday that on that Friday, July 22nd, that you went out to Kinston and executed a search warrant on the defendants, Grant and Amanda Hayes.
Yes, sir.
And earlier that day, you might have been here for Officer Crocker's testimony, but were you aware that they were under surveillance by the Raleigh Police Department?
Yes, I was.
And I guess as that day went on, were you being kept aware of where they were located and what they were doing?
We were.
And the first time I guess that they were seen was back on that Friday afternoon. Is that correct?
Yes.
At any point during that weekend, between the time that they're seen on that Friday afternoon and the time that they're arrested on Sunday night, early Monday morning, at any point were you aware that Grant or Amanda Hayes went back to this apartment at Woodfield Glen?
We did not have any of that information, no.
Okay.
We were not aware of that at all.
Based on all the information you had, they were in Kinston, they stayed in Kinston.
That's correct.
From the time they came back from Texas all the way to the time that they were arrested.
Yes, sir.
That Friday evening is the night that you executed that search warrant on those defendants?
That's correct.
Aircraft virtual witness.
You may.
Sergeant, I hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 424, 425, 426, 420, I'm sorry, State's Exhibit 524 through 528. Specifically with State's Exhibit 524, is that a cell phone that was examined as part of this matter?
Yes, it was.
And with respect to State's Exhibit 525, is that another cell phone that was examined?
Yes.
And the cell phone that's inside State's Exhibit 524, is that one of the cell phones that was taken off defendants Amanda Hayes and Grant Hayes on that Friday night?
Yes, sir.
And with State's Exhibit 525, is that a Samsung cell phone that was taken off those defendants on that Friday night?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I move State's Exhibit A524 and A525 into evidence.
That'll be received.
And could you pull out State's Exhibit A524? If you could hold that up for the jury. Does that appear to be a Motorola Razr?
It does.
And that was a phone that was downloaded by Detective D.C. Moore with the number 8581.
That's correct.
Okay. And if you could replace that, and then if you could pull out the Samsung cell phone. And this Samsung cell phone is State's Exhibit 525, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Rubber banded on the back, what is that?
Appears to be the battery for that particular cell phone.
And that's the Samsung cell phone that Detective D.C. Moore downloaded and had the number 7651.
That's correct.
And then before you, did you also recover a digital camera?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and did that come from, do you recall who that came from?
I believe it was in Amanda's purse.
Okay, and if you could, what exhibit number is that?
528.
Your Honor, at this time I move in evidence State's Exhibit 528.
That'll be received.
And that camera, after that was seized off the defendants, was that provided to an examiner at the Raleigh Police Department?
Yes, it was.
And looking at the packaging, does that appear to have the initials, other initials on there?
It does.
Okay, and what are those initials?
I see at least Z. Morris.
Okay. And the computer examiner at that time, back in 2011, at the Raleigh Police Department, was that Courtney Tremmel or Courtney Last?
Yes,
Okay. I guess her name changed after she got married.
correct.
Okay. And so that camera was provided to Courtney to download?
Ultimately, it was, yes, sir.
And then with State's Exhibit 526 and 527. Firstly, I guess State's Exhibit 526. What is State's Exhibit 526?
iPod Touch.
Okay. And is it identified on there in any way to differentiate it from the other iPod Touches of State's Exhibit 527?
No, sir.
Okay. And were those also provided to Ms. Lash or Ms. Tremmel to download and investigate?
Yes, they were.
And are those both iPod Touches that were taken off defendants Grant and Amanda Hayes back on July 22nd?
They were.
Your Honor, at this time I move to enter State's Exhibit 526 and 527.
That'll be received.
Do you recall where those were located when they were seized from Amanda and Grant Hayes?
I believe they were in her purse, but I don't recall specifically
Okay.
which section of the purse.
Okay. Could you pull out, I guess is that State's Exhibit 526?
It is.
And could you hold that up for the jury? And that's an iPod Touch, is that correct?
I believe so. It does say iPod on the back.
It looks like an iPhone.
It does.
Okay. Could you pull out State's Exhibit 527? Thank you. After, I guess, jumping back to where you collected the trash, did you continue to follow up with other parts of your investigation?
We did.
And at some point, I guess you received the SAW manual after you searched Grant and Amanda's apartment?
That's correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Gaston, do you have questions?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Good morning, Detective Hall.
Yes, sir.
Been a while since you told us your name. I appreciate that. Would it be fair to say that you have been involved in this investigation from the time that that Laura's car was, or that Laura was reported missing until this month?
I was involved in the investigation when the Raleigh Police Department was notified of her disappearance. I believe she was reported missing a day or two prior to our involvement to the Kinston Police Department.
She was reported missing in Kinston, and then the Kinston Police Department got the Raleigh Police Department involved, correct?
Yes, sir.
And was one of the very first pieces of information that was relayed to you from Kinston was that she had been reported missing by a lady by the name of Siobhan Mathis. Is that correct?
I believe there was at least one person that was the initiating party, but Siobhan Mathis was at least one of those parties, yes.
Do you recall being told that Laura Ackerson had told Siobhan Mathis that if anything ever happened to her, go look for Grant. He's the one that did it.
I don't know if that information came from the Kinston Police Department or from Siobhan Mathis directly.
I say, so after you got the report of the missing person, I take it that you yourself conducted it, you or someone else with Raleigh Police Department conducted an interview with Ms. Mathis?
A face-to-face interview with Ms. Mathis, correct.
And so you got that information almost immediately when this missing person report came in, correct?
I wouldn't say immediately, no.
Fairly quickly.
Yes, sir.
What that information allowed you to do was to turn your investigation towards Grant Hayes, wasn't it?
We took a broad approach to Laura's disappearance. As part of that particular lead, we certainly checked other leads as well to locate Laura.
But Grant Hayes was immediately a person, what we call a person of interest. Am I correct?
Yes, I would term it that. We would try to isolate the person's last known whereabouts and location and the last few people that would have had contact with her.
And one of the things that either you or someone else with the Raleigh Police Department would have done at that point was to obtain as much information as you could about Grant Hayes. Would that be fair to say?
The focus was more so about Laura and to inquire about all of the information associated with the missing person.
And did that involve also obtaining information about Grant?
In part, yes, sir.
Is one of the things that you did, or that someone with the police department did, was to run what we refer to as an accurate report?
Yes, sir. We would typically run a search. It's a search database or a search engine to determine any possible addresses, contacts, additional information associated with any name that comes across throughout the investigation.
It's a very comprehensive report of an individual, isn't it?
I don't know how specifically they obtain the information. It's through that particular company, and I don't know exactly where they develop that particular information. It's not a law enforcement database.
Well, that is the way that you were able to concentrate on the Cameron Crest apartments as a potential connection to Grant and Laura. Is that correct?
I don't know if that particular address came from Accurint or if it came from a different law enforcement database. I don't know if that was specifically where that information came from.
Do you recall whether you yourself have ever reviewed the Accurate report for Grant Hayes?
I don't know if I've reviewed it or not. I'm not sure.
May I approach you with John?
Sure.
Let me hand you what I have marked as defense exhibit number 112 and ask you if you ever had an opportunity to review that report.
It's dated July 19th of 2011. A lot of the information appears to be similar to what Accurint would provide to the response to whatever query we would give it. But I don't know if I've specifically looked at every page of this particular report.
Have you looked at various pages of that particular report?
I can't say for certain.
But if you will, you're familiar with the reports in general, I think.
Yes, sir.
And what they do is to provide information, for example, on his criminal history. Would that be fair?
It depends on what criteria you include in that particular report. There's different queries that you can input into the system depending on what you're asking it to do.
And well, one of the things that you can obtain is information on prior addresses where he has lived.
Yes, that's correct.
And prior acquaintances of his can be identified, can't they?
Yes.
Property that he and his family own can be identified, can't it?
Yes.
Do you recall whether or not you were able, you or others on your team were able to identify property that Grant Hayes and his family owned in Kinston, North Carolina?
Through this particular report,
Or that particular report or any other source?
again, I'm not sure how the Kinston address was developed as a possible location for that particular family.
Were you able to determine that there were other properties in Kinston owned by his family?
It's actually like hearsay at this point.
Did you yourself do an investigation with regard to the property owned by either Grant Hayes or any member of his family?
No, I did not.
Okay, sustained.
One of the first things that after you received the missing person report was to begin looking for Laura's car. Is that correct?
That was one of the investigative tools that we utilized, yes, sir.
And how were you able to determine that one of the areas where you should be looking was the Cameron Crest apartment?
I don't know specifically where that particular information came from. We have a variety of investigators that can add support information to the homicide unit. We have the Raleigh Intelligence Center that typically would aid in some of that background information.
And at some point, that vehicle was located parked in a space at those apartments, correct?
It was located in an apartment complex, yes, sir.
At the time that you located the car, had you already determined that Grant Hayes lived at 4021 Bella Park Trail?
I didn't locate the vehicle myself. At the time that the vehicle was located, I believe that the homicide unit was familiar with the Bella Park address, yes, sir, and that particular apartment complex had already been checked.
Okay, so someone else was handling the part of the investigation determined the proximity of the vehicle to the apartment where Grant Hayes lived.
I don't know if I would necessarily term it like that, but there was a substantial net that was cast out there around the Bella Park apartment complex looking for Laura's vehicle.
And you were also looking for Laura's body, were you not?
We did not have anyone on the ground at that particular moment looking through the woods. If you would be looking for a body, that would generally what would have to happen is that there would have to be an extensive ground search at that particular moment. At the time that we were looking for her vehicle, we were primarily looking for her vehicle.
Let me back up for a moment, if I may, and ask, during an early part of your investigation, if you obtained the financial records for Grant Hayes
At which point,
at any point.
financial records were obtained, yes.
And were financial records for Amanda Hayes also obtained?
Yes, sir.
And are you the one that requested those records? Or
No, I was not.
Are you the one that reviewed those records?
No, I did not.
Okay, so you've never seen the records that concern her financial condition?
I believe I've reviewed a few financial documents, but I was not the investigator that was assigned to obtain them or assigned to review them. But I believe that I have reviewed them at some point, yes.
Now, one of the things that you talked about on direct examination was receiving items of personal identification from Amanda, correct?
During the execution of the search warrant, photocopies were made of various identifications and financial cards, yes.
Now, I'm going to apologize because we've had a lot of numbers thrown around here. Are you able to get your hands on the package of materials that you've seized from Amanda Hayes? Perhaps Mr. Selinger can give you the number better than I.
It's in the clerk's custody at this point.
I'm sorry?
It's in the clerk's custody at this point.
Well, help us out here. I mean, I don't want the clerk to have to spend 10 minutes looking for something. If you can help us out, that'd be helpful. Do you know what he's talking about?
Your Honor, for purpose of the record, it was marked for identification of States Exhibit 558, States Exhibit 556, and States Exhibit 557, the Target receipt for the coolers and the Chick-fil-A receipt. Those were admitted. The rest of this material, I don't believe, was admitted.
Okay.
Can I approach witness, Sean?
Sure.
Detective Paul, Sergeant Moore, Detective.
Sergeant.
Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
If you will take a look at these various documents that have several different numbers on them, and let me ask you if you will to first look through there and see if you recognize those documents.
There are two receipts on the outside of the envelope marked States Exhibit 556 and 557.
Okay. Look in the identification documents are contained, I believe, in the envelope. You look through that envelope.
Okay.
Let's take them out one by one and tell me what you see.
As first one is a National Pond number 7 customer receipt.
And that is a series of documents indicating that name appears at the top of the receipt that you're looking at.
It says grant.
Looking through there, I'm not going to ask you to look for every item that was pawned, but can you determine that there was approximately $15,000 worth of money received for the items that were pawned?
I see one particular receipt for $10,000. I think there are just various statements for the same transaction, but it appears that there was a $10,000 amount of cash advanced or credit extended.
Okay. Go through there and tell me what the next document is. Look for the driver's license specifically.
See a photocopy of a New York State driver's license.
And what is the name on that New York State driver's license?
Amanda Smith,
And what is the address on that driver's license?
25 Avenue C, 3A, New York, New York, 10009.
Now, if you will, go through the various documents and tell me if almost all, not necessarily all, but almost all of the credit cards, business cards, mail was directed to Amanda Smith at that New York address.
This one particular document appears to be the reverse side of several cards, a Borders Walden Books card, Social Security card. Does not appear to have any names on it.
Well, look and see if you see on those. Well, let me approach you with you, John.
Go ahead.
Okay, you're looking at the back side now, okay, I'm sorry.
It's a photocopy of the back side of several of those cards.
And the front side, I believe, is what's sitting in front of you now. Yes. Is this the front of it?
Well, this is a different document which contains 6 photocopies. One is American Express card. I do not see a name on that particular card. The second card is a Citi American Advantage card with the name of Amanda Smith. The third card is a Chase Visa card with the name of Amanda Smith. The fourth card is a RBC Rewards check card with the name of Amanda Hayes. The fifth card is a New York State driver's license with Amanda Smith. And the sixth card is American Express with the name Amanda Smith.
Now, are you aware that there was a motel receipt recovered in Texas for a motel that was rented somewhere, I think, in Alabama? Are you familiar with that motel receipt?
No, sir.
look on through there if you will, and tell me if you see a letter from Candace, or from Karen Berry to Amanda Smith at the New York City address.
I see a photocopy of an envelope addressed to Amanda Smith with the New York address from Karen Berry. Yes, sir.
You also see a Social Security card in there with the name of Amanda Smith on it. While you're flipping through there, if you happen to come across the Progress Energy card for the electric service at 4021 Bella Park Trail, let's take a look at that one while we're looking.
Yes, I've located that.
And is that the name of Amanda Smith?
Yes.
During your investigation, were you able to determine that the apartment at 4021 Bella Park Trail was rented in the name of Amanda Smith?
The tenant agreement was obtained, but I don't recall which name or names were on that particular document.
Nowhere in these documents or in your investigation have you found anything to indicate that Amanda Smith obtained a new driver's license, a North Carolina driver's license, in the name of Amanda Smith Hayes after she and Grant Hayes were married, is it?
I do not know the complete inventory of all of the identification documents, financial cards. I'm not sure of that particular item that you speak of.
You've never seen a North Carolina driver's license with the name of Amanda Smith Hayes on it, have you?
Again, I don't know the full inventory of the evidence in this particular case. I don't know if I've seen that or not.
Now, I believe that you and various members of your team put together a spreadsheet showing the purchases that Grant Hayes made from July 14th through July 16th, did you not?
I was not part of that process.
Have you ever seen that spreadsheet?
I don't believe so.
Are you aware of the various different locations that Grant Hayes visited during that particular period of time?
I'm familiar with most of them, but I don't think I'm familiar with every single purchase made during that particular time frame.
Yesterday you testified that you obtained a receipt from the Chick-fil-A on Glenwood Avenue that indicated that Amanda and the children had been there having chicken nuggets and fries, whatever, at sometime around 9 o'clock on July 13th.
Correction. Mischaracterizes that.
Sorry.
Mischaracterizes that.
I understand. Sustained as to what the receipt indicated.
Did you obtain a receipt from the Chick-fil-A for July 13th at that was marked with a time 9:42 p.m.?
I don't recall the exact time.
You recall what I'm talking about, right?
There was a Chick-fil-A receipt obtained, not from Chick-fil-A, but from, pursuant to the search warrant from Amanda Hayes.
And that video that we saw was of Amanda and her children inside the Chick-fil-A that corresponded to that receipt, what did it?
Inside and outside of the business, yes, sir.
Were you aware that Grant purchased gasoline at the BP station on Glenwood Avenue at 1:12 a.m. on July 14th?
I'm not familiar with that transaction.
Were you aware that Grant Hayes used his debit card at 1:27 a.m. on July 14th at a business called the Black Flower?
Objection, Your Honor. Say he's not familiar with this.
I don't want to hear him answer.
Just a moment. As long as he has a good faith basis for the inquiry. Do you have a good faith basis for your inquiry?
Yes, I think so.
All right. Overall, you familiar with any of that?
I'm familiar that there was a transaction at that Black Flower establishment, yes, sir.
Now, and of course, you've been to that 4021 Bella Park Trail on numerous occasions, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
When you leave Bella Park Trail and enter Glenwood Avenue, you would turn right to go to that Walmart that you talked about earlier, correct? The Walmart at Briar Creek.
The Walmart at Briar Creek, yes, that would be a right turn to travel outbound Glenwood Avenue.
And you would travel several miles in order to get to that Walmart, would you not?
Yes.
But Grant Hayes didn't turn right, did he?
Objection.
Well, sustain it.
Well, let me ask you this. You know where the Black Flower is located?
I do.
It's on West P Street.
That's
In
correct.
downtown Raleigh, is.
It is.
And after Grant Hayes let me rephrase that. If you turn left instead of right when you leave that apartment, in order to get to the Black Flower, you drive approximately 8 miles into town, don't you?
From Lynn Road in Glenwood, that sounds approximate, yes.
Are you aware that he made 2 purchases or 2 withdrawals on his debit card while he was at the Black Flower?
I don't know the exact number of withdrawals. I seem to recall that there was at least one ATM withdrawal.
And then his next stop was the stop that you talked about at the Walmart at Briar Creek, where he bought a series of items, including a reciprocating skill saw.
The timing of your question is not the next step, the next transaction. I don't recall specifically the time that the ATM withdrawal was made and then the Walmart transactions. There were a series of Walmart transactions.
Well, do you recall that on the morning of July 14th, there was only one transaction at 2:32 a.m.?
I don't recall the exact time.
You recall that there was a transaction
There were many, many transactions.
on the morning of July 14th?
I don't recall specifically. I don't have the spreadsheet or summary of all the transactions.
Would it help you to look at the spreadsheet sheet as we talk about this?
Certainly.
May I approach the witness, Sean?
Sure. Is there an exhibit number attached to that, Mr. Gaskins? I mean, do you have some reference that we can,
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
just give me a number?
We have actually here two spreadsheets. One marked 37, Exhibit 37, the other marked Exhibit 38.
Okay, so you got defendants exhibits 37, 38.
Defendants Exhibits 37 and 38
Okay.
be in two separate spreadsheets, if that will assist you.
Let me just, for my clarification, have you ever seen these before?
No, sir.
Okay.
Does it assist you in refreshing your recollection as to when the various transactions were made?
I don't know exactly all the information that the police department obtained regarding the financial accounts and when each of those transactions were time-stamped. So I don't have any independent memory of when each transaction occurred.
Does the spreadsheet help you to recall that there was a transaction at the Walmart at Briar Creek that Thursday morning, at July 14th? Did it help you refresh your memory on that transaction?
Again, I don't have any independent memory of each transaction and each timestamp. I can read to you what's on this particular document.
Well, let me ask you this. The Black Flower, in order to get to the Black Flower from Department of Bella Park Trail, we've agreed he had to come into town approximately 5 miles, correct? Or 8 miles.
Approximately 8 miles, I believe.
And then to get to the Walmart, he had to leave, after he left the Black Flower, he had to travel back past Bella Park Trail a total of approximately 13 miles to get to that Walmart, didn't he?
I believe it's a little bit further, but I'm not entirely positive.
Were you aware that the following morning, still July 14th, that he made a $350 deposit at the RBC Bank in Kinston?
I'm not familiar with that transaction.
I believe that you indicated yesterday, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you determined that there was a transaction at 5:31 p.m. on July 14th at the Target at Grove Park Drive. Am I correct?
That particular receipt was dated for July 16, 2011 at 8:10 p.m.
Did I hear you testify yesterday about a receipt that was dated 5:31 p.m. on July 14th at the Target?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall reviewing a videotape of Grant Hayes purchasing that bottle of Clorox from the Target?
Objection.
Well, if he has.
I have not looked at that video.
How far is it from Raleigh to Kinston?
I believe it's about an hour and 45 minutes, hour and a half.
Approximately 90 miles.
That sounds about right.
Did you review the videotape of Grant Hayes purchasing an Apple adapter cord at the Apple store at Crabtree Valley at 8:42 p.m. on July 14th?
I have not viewed that. I'm familiar with that event, but I have not viewed that video.
Are you familiar with a purchase of gasoline at 10:41 p.m. from the Kangaroo Station in Raleigh on Creedmoor Road on July 14th?
I'm not familiar with that transaction.
Did I hear you say yesterday that you were familiar with a transaction that occurred at 12:25 p.m. on July 15th, that Friday, at the Walmart at 6600 Glenwood Avenue?
Yes, I'm familiar with a transaction at the Briar Creek Walmart on July 16th of 2011.
Are you familiar with the one on July 15th, 2011? At 12:25 p.m.?
I don't have that notated in my supplement, and again, I'm not sure about every transaction timestamp.
I understand that. I realized that yesterday you talked about seeing some of them and not seeing others. I'm just trying to clarify which ones you have seen. Did you see the videotape of Grant Hayes with his two sons at the Sheetz gas station in Wilson on July 15th?
I have viewed that video, yes.
And in that video, I'm not going to play it for you, but do you recall that in that video that he is walking around the Sheetz with the two little boys?
I don't know if the boys are with him in the business or not. But I recall viewing the video, and I just don't recall if the children are with him in the business.
Do you recall that he purchased some items while he was at the Sheetz?
I'm not familiar with that.
Are you familiar with the purchases that he made from the Walmart at Briar Creek starting at 6:48 a.m. on Saturday morning, July 16th?
Saturday morning, July 16, 2011 at 6:46 a.m., yes.
And have you reviewed that videotape?
I have, yes.
Do you recall that during the time that he was there, that he bought 3 bags of ice and 120 quart cooler?
Yes.
Are you familiar with any other instances in which he bought ice?
Not that I recall, no.
you recall that when you were looking through the garbage in that warehouse, that you found 6 bags of empty ice?
I believe they were 5 total.
Now approach the witness, Your Honor.
You know,
Let me ask you to examine what I have marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 79. How many bags of ice do you see there?
I see 4.
And Defendant's Exhibit number 80, how many bags of ice do you see there?
Appears to be 2, so a total of 6.
Do you have any information on where the other 3 bags of ice were purchased?
No, sir.
Do you recall from either the receipts or the video that while Grant was at the Briar Creek Walmart that Saturday morning, that he also purchased 3 duffel bags at 7:10 a.m.?
I've noted that that was actually a return of 3 duffel bags, and then a follow-up purchase of an additional cooler.
Were you aware that he had bought 6 duffel bags from the Walmart at 6600 Glenwood Avenue at 12:25 on July 15th?
I'm not familiar with that transaction.
And I believe you indicated that you were aware that he had returned the 120 quart cooler at 3:45 p.m. on that Saturday the 16th at the Walmart at 6600 Glenwood Avenue.
I'm not entirely familiar with that particular transaction.
Are you familiar with a transaction that occurred at 4:07 p.m. on July 16th, that Saturday, at that same Walmart, in which Grant Hayes purchased another series of items?
I'm sorry, another series?
Some other items.
I'm not familiar with that.
Now, I believe that you indicated yesterday that you were familiar with the purchase of 2 coolers from the Target at Grove Barton Road on that Saturday, July 16th at 8:10 p.m.
That's correct.
Did you watch the video of that purchase?
I did, yes.
Do you know where that video is now?
No, sir, I don't.
If we could locate that, I'd like to play that video for the jury on it.
you'll have an opportunity to do that. Unless it's already in evidence.
It is already in evidence, I think.
And it's been marked and received in evidence in this case.
I believe it was marked yesterday, but not played.
Folks, give me a number. I don't know.
I don't know what exhibit he's talking about.
Okay, well,
I'm happy to play whatever has been admitted in evidence, but I'm not sure which exhibit he's talking about. I can approach the clerk, try
Sure.
to find it.
all right.
You recall looking at that video, correct?
Yes, I've viewed it.
And Grant Hayes went into the Target and purchased 2 coolers, didn't he?
On July 16th, I've noted that at about 8:10 is when that receipt was dated, that there was a purchase for 2 coolers, yes.
The videotape indicated that he walked back to the parking lot with those 2 coolers, didn't he?
I recall that, yes.
And he placed them on the ground near the U-Haul trailer, didn't he?
I've noted that he placed the coolers inside a U-Haul trailer.
Just for clarification, officer, I mean, if you were able to obtain a receipt, or if you have some kind of credit card transaction, is that what caused you to go to a particular location?
Yes.
Okay. If you did not have either, then I assume you were unaware of any particular location anybody might have been to purchase anything.
Correct. That's what directed us to that.
Okay. All right. So your activity was focused on following a receipt or following some credit card transaction.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, yesterday you testified that at some point you went to the Wood Glen apartment complex to determine when the trash container was scheduled to be emptied.
Yes, sir.
You also indicated that your team had done a canvass of that neighborhood to find out if there was anyone there who had information about anything of significance, did you?
A canvass was conducted at that complex, yes.
No one reported hearing a reciprocal chainsaw operating in or near that apartment during this period of time, did they?
I don't recall any witness statement pursuant to a canvass with that information, no.
Do you recall any information being obtained pursuant to a canvass in which anyone reported seeing coolers being hauled up and down the stairs to the apartment at 402 on Bella Park Trail?
Yes.
Who saw that?
I'm sorry?
Somebody saw a cooler being hauled, going up down the stairs?
I don't recall their exact statement, but I recall something similar to that.
Do you recall going through your testimony, going through the various different items that were found in the trash container?
Yes.
Now, one of the things that was found was that yellow vacuum cleaner that had been thrown into the trash from the apartment.
It was located in the trash container, yes.
Was that submitted to the state crime lab to determine whether there was anything located inside of the vacuum cleaner?
I was not personally involved in that follow-up.
Well, you found a lot of things in that trash container, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
One of the things that you found was a man's dirty shirt of some kind.
Yes.
That was submitted to the state crime lab for analysis also, wasn't it?
I was not involved in that process.
Do you recall, I believe you held that shirt up for the jury to see, did you not?
I held a white athletic shirt.
It was very dirty, wasn't it?
Yes.
Do you also recall retrieving from the dumpster a pair of men's sports underwear?
Yes.
They were also very dirty, weren't they?
That's correct.
Do you recall retrieving from the dumpster a pair of Reebok tennis shoes
Yes.
and also a pair of sandals?
Yes.
Do you recall retrieving the goggles, a pair of goggles from the dumpster?
Yes.
Now, the goggles that you recovered had not been opened, had
They were open.
they? May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Let me hand you what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit Number 1 and ask you if that accurately reflects the goggles that were found in the dumpster.
It appears to be the goggles within the packaging material.
They hadn't been opened, had they?
I can't tell from this photograph.
They're in the package, aren't
They appear to be, yes. But I can't tell if the package is open or not.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you see anything, you see any blood on those goggles?
From this photograph?
When you saw them in the trash container, did you observe any blood on the goggles?
I don't recall observing any blood on them. No.
They appeared to be perfectly clean, didn't they?
When I held them up as evidence or from the photograph?
Well, when you pulled them up from evidence, did they appear to be perfectly clean?
Now I'm confused. You talking about out on the scene? Out?
Yes, at the warehouse.
I don't recall.
Looking at
They
the
were amongst the
photograph,
trash.
Do they look at the photograph? Do they appear to be perfectly clean?
No, sir.
Tell me what you see on them.
Appears to be the packaging is damaged and is not like you would see on the store shelf. The plastic appears to be removed from the cardboard material. There appears to be maybe some sort of rust stain or brownish colored stain on the cardboard area itself.
I believe you testified also that you found a empty box for a track phone telephone.
At least one, yes.
Did you find in the trash the telephone that had been packaged in that box?
No, sir.
Now, this was a prepaid telephone, was it not?
That's what the packaging indicated, yes.
And the way that works is you buy the phone and then you go out and you buy a phone card so that you can install the minutes and use the phone, right?
Each company may be different. I'm not sure about that particular company.
You also found the shower curtain and the shower liner that appeared to have come from the bathroom at the apartment, correct?
We located a shower curtain and shower liner, yes.
And those were also submitted to the crime lab for analysis, were they not?
I was not involved in that process.
Were you also aware that in the trash container you found various bath tissues, wadded up bath tissues?
I don't recall testifying to that.
Let me ask you, if I approach Witness Sharp,
You may.
let me ask you to identify or examine what I've marked as Defendants Exhibits 94, 95, and 96, and ask you if you see wadded up bath tissues in those photographs.
I would describe them as paper towels.
And they've been wadded up, haven't they?
Yes.
Do they appear to be damp?
Yes.
Thank you. One of the things that you indicated that you found in the trash that had been dumped in the warehouse was a pair of pants. Remember that?
Yes.
Pair of size 3 pants.
Yes.
Are you familiar with women's clothing at all?
I would say so.
Pair 3 is very small, isn't it?
I guess it's relative.
Okay, next question.
Three pants isn't going to fit anyone other than a very skinny person. Am I right?
Do you have an opinion about that?
I do not have an opinion about that.
All right, your next question.
Did you make any effort to determine what size Amanda wore?
I was not involved in that process.
One of the things I believe I heard you testify to yesterday was that you had pulled telephone records for the 2 telephone numbers, I think 4651 and 8581, if I used the numbers correctly.
I did not testify to that, no.
And you didn't pull the telephone records?
No, sir.
you aware that there was a report, a child custody evaluation report recovered from the Dodge Durango?
I seem to recall hearing information about a report, but I don't recall where that was located at.
Did you ever read it?
No, sir.
Did anyone in your team ask you to conduct background investigations on any of the individuals who were identified in the report?
No, sir.
And I believe that you had indicated that you had gone to the apartment at 4021 Bella Park Trail during one of the 3 searches of that apartment.
Yes, sir.
And what you were looking for was any evidence of bodily fluids, correct?
That would be one piece of evidence we would be looking for, yes.
And of course, the state crime lab came in after you to determine whether any such bodily fluids could be found, correct?
I believe CCBI would have assisted during that particular search.
May I have a moment, John?
Sure.
Yes, Your Honor. Sergeant, you were just asked about going in that apartment and looking for bodily fluids. I know you're not a chemist, but based on your training experience, what effect does bleach have on trying to get bodily fluids?
It would essentially possibly eliminate it from being collected.
And you were asked if anyone during that canvass heard a reciprocal saw. As part of that canvass that you did in that neighborhood, did anyone report seeing someone carrying a body out of an apartment?
No.
You're asked about where some video was now. All the materials that you researched, are those all provided to the lead detective in this case, Jerry Falk?
Yes, they were.
Okay, and then are those all provided to the state of North Carolina to give to the defendant as part of the discovery process?
Yes.
You were asked about that Target transaction where the 2 coolers were purchased on July 16th.
Yes.
You became aware of that because the receipt for those coolers was found in defendant Amanda Hayes' purse.
That's correct.
You were asked if you knew if Grant Hayes turned left or right, leaving Bella Park Trail. On the early morning hours of July 14th, do you have any idea where Amanda Hayes was?
No, I don't.
Were you aware that Grant and Amanda Hayes only had 1 car?
We knew of one vehicle.
And that was that silver Dodge Durango?
That's correct.
You were asked about the AccuRent program. That's not a law enforcement run program, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I guess, are those reports sometimes inaccurate?
They can be, yes.
Do those, I guess, spit back information on, when you enter an individual, it spits back information on the individual that it finds from various sources, some of which might be correct and some might be incorrect?
That's true.
And lastly, you were asked about that Chick-fil-A video, and if you saw Amanda Hayes in that Chick-fil-A video with her children.
Yes.
2 of those children weren't Amanda Hayes' children, were they?
Correct.
Nothing further.
All right. Any others?
Nothing.
All right, thank you, Alice. And thanks. you'll collect your exhibits, please. Both the defendant and the state's exhibits. Thank you. It's about 5 after 11. Why don't we take the morning break? Keep an open mind, folks. Don't form or express any opinion about any matter of controversy. Follow my previous instruction. Come on back in about, what, 10, about 20 minutes, about 25 after 11 at that time. We'll proceed on. Thank you.